72, 96. No, there isn't a countdown. Yes, it is a football Friday, but it's not an Eagles football Friday. Welcome in, everybody. Rob Ellis, Tone to Shield Sports Take. Tone, good to see you, my friend. How we doing?
I'm doing great, my friend. I feel great this morning. It's Friday. The sun is shining real bright on this side of the country. So I feel good, man. I woke up. I'm blessed by the best. Took my vitamins. I'm ready to rock, man. I'm ready for whatever you throw at me, Ari. Let's do it.
I got a lot, man. Let me say hi to everybody. What's up, Tyler? What is up? Let's see. M. Reyes, James. What is up, ARS Bench? Twiz, Jimmy, Gregory. Who else? Who else we got here? William. Did I get James? James, I think I got you. And William Stark. What's up, everybody? Hope you guys are doing great out there. I see it's Joe. Let me get everybody. I'm getting everybody today. Mm-hmm. All right. Let's go, Twiz.
Hey, Twiz, thank you. They won't get in until about later on, but I appreciate you. Thanks, Twiz.
Yes. So we got Tones folks rolling into Texas in a little bit. Looking forward to that, man. That's got to be awesome for you. I'm glad. What is up, Fly? What's up, Jim G? Hope everybody's doing well. If I missed anybody, I apologize, but hope everybody's good. Now, here's the thing. Mm-hmm. Tone, we're on watch. We are on watch. What's up, Chuck? We're on watch. So reportedly, now I don't know. I guess when you're Jeffrey Lurie, you're not exactly traveling coach. So you have different methods of arrival. Jake, what's up? What's up, real MVP? So he is supposed to be our real RMP. Sorry. He is supposed to be coming in from St. Martin today to have the interview with Nick Sirianni. Now, what is supposed to take place in this interview, this part isn't surprising. Nick's going to have to go in there with a plan. Nick's going to have to go in there with, I think, partly an explanation of what went wrong this year, partly of what he is going to do to get this thing headed in the right direction, partly, with a list of coaches that he's going to have to bring in to try to change this thing, or at least guys that he would like to see brought in. So we've been down this road before with Doug Peterson.
Correct.
And it didn't go particularly well with Doug. Okay. Doug basically, I think, had the opportunity to come back, but Doug was at a point in his life and his career where he wanted to make the decisions on the people that were brought in. And that is not where Jeffrey Lurie and Howie Roseman were. And Doug was shown the door. Now, ultimately, none of us are inside of Nick Sirianni's head, so we don't know exactly what approach he's going to take to this thing. Tone, this is just my guess, and tell me where you are with this, okay? My guess is he's going to be a lot more willing than Doug was to do whatever it takes to stay on as the Eagles head coach. That's just my read on it. I don't know that for certain. I don't pretend to know Nick on a personal level, but from how I've seen him in front of the press, how I've seen him kind of work behind the scenes, et cetera, that's just my guess. Where are you at?
I think you're pretty spot on in terms of him working or being what's the word? Is it amiable or
amicable?
Being amicable, being real flexible with Howie and Jeffrey. I think he understands his role, but also here's another thing too. You got to remember who he's connected to and how he got the job in the first place, right?
Right.
The Frank Reich connection. And I wouldn't be surprised if, Jeffrey and Howie reached out to Frank and said, hey, how is this guy? We're thinking about hiring him. And I wouldn't be surprised if Frank got on the phone with Nick saying, because they're close.
Right.
I wouldn't be surprised if Reich got on the phone with Sirianni saying, hey, listen, they're considering you for this job. 9 times out of 10, you're going to get it. Mm-hmm. This is how you keep it. So I expect Sirianni with all the fire, with all the spicy salsa, all the spicy tomato sauce in his belly, I'm pretty sure he's going to still find a way to navigate this without ruffling too many feathers.
Mm-hmm.
I think Sirianni is going to try his best to concede to their demands. That's what I expect. But still, anything can go haywire in these conversations, right? If Jeffrey Lurie doesn't like something and and Sirianni's pretty hellbent on it, that's when things go awry, and it doesn't take much. So ultimately, I do think Sirianni is going to be flexible, but at the end of the day, like you said, we don't know him, and we don't know how this thing's going to end up.
Let me tell you the other thing. Well, here's the other thing that I also do wonder about, Tone. I know we assume that Nick kind of handpicked Brian Johnson and Sean Desai, right? And or maybe Matt Patricia. I don't know. If he didn't, if this was more of the call of Jeffrey and Howie, do they have a little bit more empathy for the plight of Nick at the way this year went if they were the ones who chose this? In other words, if they're behind closed doors and Nick and Jeffrey saying, hey, look, let's be honest. We wanted, Sean Desai and Matt Patricia, and he kind of got, I mean, those guys sucked, frankly. Is there a little bit more understanding? I don't know. I mean, we don't know the situation, but here's my best guess. And we'll talk to Dave Zangaro coming up at 11:30 from NBC Sports Philadelphia. I'm curious to bounce some of the stuff off of him. I think both coordinators are gone. There's a chance Brian Johnson gets a head coaching gig. That's in play. He's interviewed with a couple of teams. So that's in play. Even if it's not the case, I think they move on from both parties. What I wonder is if Jeffrey says to Nick, hey, listen, whoever comes in as the OC is also scheming this thing up. You're definitely going to have input in this, but I want them to be able to orchestrate their own plan on game day with calling those plays. And I wonder if Nick pushes back on that part. He's really out of it. He's really just the CEO at that point. So there's all these like little things that I do wonder about, with all this.
No, I mean, you bring up a good point. I'm with you believing that both coordinators will be gone. How much is Nick willing to really concede, right? Is he just going to become a figurehead at this point? And that's the $1 million question he's gonna have to ask himself. How badly does he want to keep this job? And the dynamic between Howie and Jeffrey Lurie, that matters as well because they're tight at the hip.
Yep.
But also Howie Roseman, I think it's important for Nick Sirianni to get this thing right because he can't keep going through these head coaches like this, and you don't want to become that organization that's constantly shuffling through head coaches. Am I on the side of moving on? Sure. Yeah, I am. But I do value stability, and I do wrestle with the idea of bringing him back or not, if I'm being completely transparent, with the people. Because, we're human, and our feelings are fleeting, and they're fluid. And part of me says, yeah, flush the whole thing, get a new coach in here, and try to maximize Jalen Hurts' skill set. Other part of me is, okay, he has been successful with this team. They had one bad stretch. They have to be able to. You have to be able to stay the course. You can't just jump ship every time you come across a big tidal wave. You know what I'm saying? That's not sustainable. So, I think
you know what, Tone. It's like anything else in life, isn't it? I mean, you're going to go through things, man. You're going to go through things that are difficult. And I always talk to my kids about this, and I'm like, you don't quit at the first sign of distress here. You don't just give up on something because, and I agree with you. I mean, there's a real fine line there when it comes to Nick. Like, how much of it was just stuff went off the rails, it got crazy, he lost control of it. It's not that he isn't at fault, he is, because he's the head coach. But ultimately, are you jettisoning this guy too soon when the large majority of his work has been good? It's it's just not an easy call, man. I don't envy Howie and Jeffrey as far as this goes.
It's not an easy call. And then you got to think about what direction could they go in with the OC, and then also Jalen Hurts, right? Some debate how much say he will have in this process. I think I believe every decision you make when it comes to this franchise has to be in the best interest of that $250 million investment. That's how I look at it. And I'm pretty sure. And one thing they always say, especially in business, follow the money. You follow the money, you'll find out what their motivations are. You'll find out what they care about. And Jalen Hurts, $250 million, the largest investment in that franchise. I think whatever decision they make, he's going to be at the forefront of it. And I do believe when they do come to a decision, they will pick his brain, to see how.
Oh, I think they already have.
How he rolls with it. Okay, so they already have, right? Let's assume that too.
My opinion, yeah. Yep.
Right. Let's assume that they already spoke to Jalen, picked his brain. Exit interviews have already ended. Players are already out of the building for the most part. So yeah, you know what? You're right. Likely they did speak to him.
All right.
What do you think? What do you think that conversation was like?
Well, with Jalen. I think
Jalen and
think
Jeffrey or Jalen and Howie, however you want to slice it. What do you think that conversation was like?
Well, I would say this. I think that the first, I would ask him, how did you think the offense operated this season? And if Jalen says not quite at the level that I think we're capable of, or it's not quite what we were last year. So then my follow-up to that would be, okay, why? Why wasn't it as good as last year? You had very similar personnel, not exact, but similar personnel. Why couldn't you guys function, especially at the end of the season, at a high level? And if he says, hey, look, there was confusion leading up to the week. I felt like our game plan was predictable. I felt like we didn't do enough to counter the blitz. Like if it's a lot of the stuff that you're laying at the feet of the coaches, then that's not going to bode well for Nick. It's not going to bode well for Brian Johnson either. Which is
it's like he's blaming them. It's like he's blaming them without blaming them.
Right. And I wonder too, like, because of his relationship with Brian, is he less apt to lay it on him and sort of push it all onto Nick? I don't know. I'm totally speculating about that. I have no idea. But I do wonder, I think Jalen is a stand-up enough guy where I think he's got to say at some things like, look, and I have to get better at X, Y, Z. And a lot of this falls on my shoulders. I'm the quarterback. I'm the leader out there. And Nick wasn't the one throwing those interceptions. He wasn't the one fumbling the football in big spots. You know, I hope that he takes that approach where it's not just a finger point. You're pointing it at himself as well.
Jalen strikes me as that kind of dude, though.
He does.
If you notice, even in his press conferences, even when they try to push back on coaches, one thing I will give him credit for, maybe this isn't an endorsement of coaching, but what I will give him credit for is he's always saying, look, first things first, it's important to look in the mirror. Where did I go wrong in this process? He always hinges on that. And I appreciate that about him because you do have quarterbacks who pass the buck a lot.
Yeah.
Or who aren't really willing to fall on the sword for anybody else.
Mm-hmm.
He makes it very clear in most of his press conferences, if not all of them, that it starts with the individual, it starts with you. And also this game is results based. You know, Jalen Hurts is funny. His personality type, we loved it, right, when they were winning. But now that they're losing, you have certain people who are saying he's too nonchalant, he doesn't care, he's coy or whatever. And look, the fact of the matter is Jalen Hurts has been answering these questions exactly in Jalen Hurts fashion. He hasn't really deviated from the script.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't really get in too much detail about much of anything. He's very in control of his press conferences, and that's another thing I respect about him.
Yeah,
to be in control in situations where you're really not. That's commendable. So Jalen Hurts, even like you said, in those meetings with Lurie and Howie, he's going to, I think he will start with self. And then he'll say, look, I understand my role in this thing, and I will never dismiss that. You know, my discomfort with what's been going on is I don't have full confidence in what we've been doing the past several weeks or the game plan. I felt like we were mostly ill prepared to respond to certain things that you would think are pretty elementary. And by being honest, it may be an indictment on Nick, just by being flat out honest. And sometimes there's nothing you can do, right? Some person, like some call it throwing somebody under the bus, whatever, but sometimes there's literally no other option. If you're just being honest and you can clean it up as much as possible, it doesn't matter. It's still going to land roughly. Well,
that's a key. You want honesty in those meetings. You don't want somebody covering for somebody. You got to keep it real, but behind those closed doors to try to fix it. Your ultimate objective is to fix this thing. That's what you're there to do. And sometimes a byproduct of that is somebody has to go, but that's what you're trying to do, make the product better. All right, with that in mind, you and I and our chat, we're going to be Jeffrey Lurie here in this scenario. All right. If you want to say Jeffrey Lurie and Howie Roseman, that's fine. We're going to be forms of both. Okay. We're going to role play a little bit here. So here's what I want to do here. I want 5 key points that you would address with Nick Sirianni. So you're sitting down with him today at the NovaCare complex in your office. Where do you start? It's the first thing you're asking him about if you're Jeffrey and or Howie.
So I get to pretend that I'm the Don.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, sir. So you can after you leave, you'll leave in your Bentley, you'll roll out to your really nice crib, and you'll duck out of this weather pretty soon, I'm sure, as well, and go to your nice place in Florida in Palm Beach.
That's good, Rob. That's good. That's funny. That's good. That's good.
But for right now, you're in that office, man, and you need answers. You want the truth, as Tom Cruise would say.
Nick, I have a few questions for you. One, what happened to Jalen Hurts? How did he regress? That's the number one point I'm asking. Mm-hmm. Why did this quarterback take a step back? What can we point to tangibly to why that young man did not succeed this year? He went from turning the ball over this amount to this astronomical amount. Mm-hmm. Yes, he's accountable for a lot of it, but how did he get there? So that's one. What happened to the quarterback? Why hasn't he taken at least a small step forward? Why did he take such a larger step back? That's one.
Let's jump on that. All right. So this to me is number one as well. Like this is, you better fix this. You better get to the root of why he took a step back. And you better have some answers. And to me, the first thing I would say is, and this sounds like BS coach speak, but I'm going to dig a little bit deeper when I say this. We need to put him in a better position to succeed. What I mean by that is, if I'm Nick at least, we were too predictable on offense, number one. We did not do a good enough job preparing him against pressure. And we need to fix that ASAP, because that's the book on us. Every team is going to come after us now. And they know that if his first read isn't there, he gets himself into trouble. Mm-hmm. So I would start there. Predictability, inability to counter a blitz. And we also need to do a better job taking what's given to us. We have jammed into his head too much chunk play, deep shot, push the ball down the field. We have to be willing to take the other stuff, because that will open up stuff down the field. We could also do a better job of being more consistent calling runs. Now I wouldn't get crazy on that, because I don't think that's what Jeffrey and Howie ultimately want, but I would keep that in your, in the holster. That would come out at some point. Right. So I would do that. And I think you're dead on with the very first question being that. Let me hit you with my kind of second question, and you jump in. Simply put, Nick, why did we lose 6 of our last 7 games? If you could sum it up for me.
That's good.
What happened here? Because you were 10-1, you finished 6-7. That included a loss to the Cardinals, a loss to the Giants, and then a non-competitive playoff game against the Bucs. How do you explain that? Now,
that's good.
I don't know what the answer is from Nick on that one. I really don't. That's where I love to be a fly on the wall.
Do you think he knows?
I don't. That's the problem. He better have some kind of explanation, because if he doesn't know, then it's going to be a mess. Here's one of my guesses. I think he'll say, look, we need to, frankly, we lack some talent on the defensive side.
Okay.
But that's where you got to be delicate too, because how he constructed that. But what he needs to also say is the move from Desai to Patricia, in hindsight, was not the right move. We didn't respond well to it. You talk to a lot of the players, and they'll tell you that it was really hard adjusting to the tweaks and the different things that Patricia did. We laid that on them at week, what was it, 14 or 13? I don't know, whatever it was. We laid it on them late in the season. If I could do that over again, I wouldn't do it. And that led to a lot of our defensive struggles.
Okay.
That's one. But that's where I would go, Tone, with a real sort of generic. I get 2 games.
Leave it open-ended. What happened?
Yeah. I hope. What happened? I mean, hey, we understand the 49ers. We kind of get Dallas. 6 of 7. How does that happen?
That's a good pull. You're right. That's actually not on my list. My second one was offensive identity. What happened to it? No evolution. How did we get to this point with the offense with AJ Brown, Devontae Smith, Jalen Hurts, that O-line? How were we not able to generate offense in that final stretch? Even then, why was the offense so herky-jerky? So again, just go back to the essence of offensive identity. And this kind of coincides with your second one, right? What happened in those final 6 games? Why weren't we able to generate enough offense? You know, I believe in a few of those matchups, they didn't put up more than 20 points.
No.
So
9 points in your last game.
Exactly. So clearly offense became a struggle in the second half along with defense, which is not a good thing. So this is the scary part about this. I really don't know if he has the answers. I don't know if he has the answers for both sides, right? I don't know if he has the answers for why the offense became predictable, why they lacked an identity, why it was so easy for for opponents to just make a beeline for whatever Jalen Hurts and those guys were doing. It just seemed like the Eagles on offense, especially, was playing a speed slower than everyone else. And then on defense, they were playing light years away from everybody else. So, those are good. That's good. That 6-7 game stretch, he has to answer for that, and above all else, he has to answer for what happened to this offensive identity, why there hasn't been any evolution. I want to transition to my third one. Sure. This is kind of close to the second one. Why haven't we in 3 years been able to come up with the answer to the blitz? And why has your answer to the blitz still bull screens? What is that about? What is that? Why is there no creative ingenuity in response to the blitz?
I think it's a good
just that simple for me.
No, Tone, and I think that goes back to just look, Nick, we brought you in. Your calling card was you were an offensive mind. You were an offensive coordinator with the Colts. You've been a quarterbacks or receivers coach. That's your side of the ball, man. For us to look as I wish they were unpredictable. For us to look as predictable as we look on that side, when you're the one during the week drawing this up, how does that happen, man? Like, how did we lose our fastball from one year to the other? Like, if I were to say to you, this is where you dig deep too, Tone. There's a lot of talk from people, and you tell me how. I'm saying this is Jeffrey. Tell me, Nick, how you would respond to this. That are saying Shane Steichen was the reason this offense looked the way it looked, and when Shane Steichen left, our offense fell off. What's your response to that? These are hard questions.
That's a bold question. You think they would ask? You think they would ask him that?
I do. Because here's the thing: this isn't going to be a 5-minute session. This is going to be an hours, plural, long session where they're going to dig deep. This guy's job's on the line.
That's a good point.
And it isn't going to be comfortable a lot of the time. There's not going to be a lot of, hey, let's order out for Chick-fil-A. Like, I think this is going to be like real dig down into some stuff.
And also, you know what? I would tend to agree with you. And another thing is, they lost a lot of money because they were bad this year.
They lost 2 home games that if you had taken care of your business against those garbage teams at the end of the year, and you lost them both. And you lost, that's millions of dollars in income that was not generated. Even if you had beaten Tampa and the game would have been in Detroit, that's still another week that somebody's buying merchandise or TV rights are kicking in. Like, that's bottom line real stuff.
And, now we're getting into the corporate side of things, and at the end of the day, as much as these guys want to win, they want to make their money too. And when they have opportunities to make more money, they're going to find out why that didn't happen.
Yeah.
So you're right. Why did you lose those 7 games? What happened to the offense? Is it why is everyone saying Shane Steichen was the reason for your success?
Frankly, the brains behind it. Yeah.
He's going to have to answer these tough questions, and they're going to make him uncomfortable. And honestly, they're going to frazzle him a little bit.
Yeah.
And I think that's the crux of negotiating and having these tough conversations, being able to keep your emotions in check when the person you're talking to says something that makes you very uncomfortable and challenges your authority, challenges your credibility. This is a real conversation. There are multi-million dollars on the line when it comes to this team because if they're not good, Eagles fans are always going to show up. We're psychos like that. But you don't want to lose out on playoff matchups, especially home games. And Nick Sirianni has to wear that along with the players as well. My number 4 was the screen game. What happened? Like, how come we have no screen game with the running back or with the tight end? We have the Eagles have had
no. The only screen is the wide receiver screen.
Exactly, the bubble screen. There's no running back or tight end screen. So that's that's one thing I would love answers for. And my last one is the defense. Which is what happened to the defense, man. What's going on? Where did we go wrong there? Period.
Yep. I was thinking of this as we were talking about that last scenario, right? And I wonder if this is, I don't know that they'll hit him with this, but I'm just thinking out loud. You tell me if it's kind of nothing or whatever.
Okay.
But hey, Nick, we like that you are an emotional guy. We like that you wear your heart on your sleeve. Nobody doubts you care. Why the need to go after an opposing fan base as you're coming off the field? Why at times do you come unglued on the sidelines? And don't you think that's a poor reflection? Like if you're asking AJ Brown to keep his cool and you're losing your mind at certain points, like how can we do that? Like, are you too emotional? Do you need to scale this thing back a little bit and keep your composure a little bit better? And is that affecting your coaching in any way, shape, or form?
They don't call him Harry High School for nothing. Sometimes I wonder if Nick Sirianni would be better suited coaching college, just because like it's just his the way he carries himself, the energy. It's very.
You can see him connecting very well, frankly, very well with 18 to 22-year-olds.
It's very college, very high school, and he has to get that in check, especially if he's going to be coaching these grown men.
Yeah.
I know we're running a long time here because we got Zingaro to 11.
We can push some of this stuff to later. We got plenty of No, I think it's fun. I think it's a fun exercise. Probably not fun for Nick, but it's a fun exercise for us. All right, let's get a timeout in. Dave Zingaro from NBC Sports Philadelphia is going to join us when we come back. You don't want to go anywhere. We've got a lot of Eagles coverage for you throughout the course of the program. All right, let's talk about Bravo Pizza of Havertown. You don't feel like cooking tonight, do you? I know. Of course you don't. Bad weather out there, man. Go get yourself a pizza. They've been family owned since 1985. You got Alex and the crew there 7 days a week, just pumping out the absolute best and most fresh food. 20 different styles of pizza. They have slices to go. They have the you name it, they'll make it. But they just don't do pizza. They have fresh pasta, sandwiches, wraps, wings, salads. Bravo Pizza of Havertown is committed to the community. They have fundraisers for charities, little leagues, and schools. Proceeds go to those organizations. You can follow them at the Bravo Pizza of for daily specials and promotions. They're located at 1305 Westchester Pike in the Manoa Shopping Center in Havertown. Give them a call, 610-446-3810, 610-446-3810. Bravo Pizza of Havertown.
I remember getting my heart broken when they lost the Super Bowl in 2004. We're big Eagles fans. We moved to South Philly because of the Eagles. When they won, we went straight to Broad Street, and everybody was going nuts over there, and it was just a memory that you'll never forget.